Welcome to the podcast of School Beyond Limitations. In this podcast, you will learn how to guide your child through their school life with the intention to help them find their unique essence that will allow your daughter, your son to live a fulfilled and meaningful life. What is human design and how can it help the personalized learning approach at School Beyond Limitations? My name is Dr. Martina. I'm the co-founder, the designer and the CEO of School Beyond Limitations. If you are longing for your child to live a fulfilled and meaningful life, then you may want to subscribe to this channel. So please subscribe. Well, today I would really like to talk to you about human design. But first, before we start to talk about that, I would emphasize again what the blueprint of School Beyond Limitations is. And it's been crafted really very carefully. And it goes as follows. It goes in everything we do. We believe in the power of education in order to bring the best and unique essence of each student, each child into life. So it's about the unique essence. And you may now ask, what is the unique essence? Well, we have lots of tools to find out what unique essence is. But something which is really very important to be aware of is that we know and we believe that each person holds within themselves this unique essence, that each student, each human being, each girl, each boy, each person basically comes into this reality with a clear mission, with a clear why, with something that drives them, with something that lies within them. And they basically, everyone actually knows. I mean, if you look at students and children at very early in their lives, then we see how they get into the flow of doing things. And that's basically it. When they connect with themselves, when they do something, and when we also as adults do something that we really enjoy doing, then we get into this flow. That's our element, that's our essence. And Dr. Ken Robinson talked, or Sir Ken Robinson talked about this element, which is really inside everyone. So we, of course, at School Beyond Limitations, we approach education from a personalized point of view. So we look at each child, at each human being, at each girl, at each boy, from a perspective of they are unique. But yet, although they are unique, they bring something to the world, to reality. So their uniqueness is embedded in something bigger. And we use a lot of tools to understand how to find out what the unique essence of each student is. And one of those techniques and tools is basically human design. You may know human design, or you may have heard human design already throughout, in your reality. But human design is a technique that allows us to understand the person within. Human design, this is not the platform to talk in all the details about human design, but human design is basically an instrument that allows us to understand which kind of person do I have in front of me. It distinguishes between basically 5 different types, and then there are different profiles, and then there are the different centers that are defined, not defined, and channels and so forth. But basically it allows us to understand, is this a person who, like a manifestor, who are steering the pot, who are bringing new ideas and need to bring new ideas into reality? Is there authority, like for instance, if I have an emotional authority, then I need to understand that I need to listen to my emotion when making a decision. If I do have a sacral authority, then I need to understand that I shouldn't base my decision making on my intellectual reasoning, but rather on the experience, how it feels while when doing things, and if I have a gut feeling authority, then I go with that, and I understand that I need to listen my inner voice, my intuition, and so forth. So manifester, for instance, is also a person who needs to be aware that they have constantly new ideas. They want to constantly create something different. They want to constantly go beyond the already status quo, and that they, however, need to learn how to inform their surroundings well. So if I know that as a facilitator, as a parent, then I know what to do for such a human being. I know that they need to learn to ask for permission first. They need to learn to communicate first before they go, and they need to learn that when they are children, when they are teenagers, because that will allow them to have the skills later on in life when they will take on leadership skills, in society, to inform their surroundings, so that their environment and their group of people who work with them will come along with them. That's basically the manifester. So then there is the generator. The generator is a person who is basically responding to what is coming into his or her reality, to every kind of stimuli, so I need to be aware that they may go with everything. They may get distracted easily, and that they don't want to be they don't listen to rules, in the sense you have to do that. They need to be having choices. So I need to understand that, or I need to understand that they also need lots of physical exercise. They need to move around. So it's not a problem. It's actually part of their personality. So I embed that in my relationship with them. I know that they can't sit still for 3 hours. I allow them to get up, to move around, to fetch something, to run around, and according to their age, of course. And I also know that they are constantly doing, but I also need to be aware which kind of centers are defined, which are not defined, which kind of authority do they have. And usually generators like to be in a big group, while a manifestor doesn't like to be in a big group. They want to be more in a one-on-one. Then we have the projectors, for instance, the projectors who basically really want to learn by being taught. So while maybe the generator wants to have a choice in front of them, the projector wants to know exactly what is next, what do I need to do. So they need to be instructed, they need to be taught, they need to have clarity with their learning plan. And then there's the manifesting generator, who is a kind of, let's name it a combination between manifestor and generator. So there are the elements of reacting to all the impulses that are coming their way, but they also come up with their own ideas. Sometimes they have lots of energy also, and that's why they also need to move around. They can't sit still. They need to kind of express themselves physically. And last but not least, there is the reflector. And the reflector is a person that takes time to actually digest things, because they are open. All the centers, if we were to talk about the centers, they are not defined, which means they are perceptive what's going on in their environment. So they capture all the emotions within the field. They go with a lunar cycle. So with regards to the decision making process, we need to be aware that they can't take a decision or make a decision from one day to the next day. They basically take 28 days, a lunar cycle. And if I know that, then I just inform them ahead of time. The same with projectors. They also need, depending on, again, we may have to go into more detail, but just so that we are aware, if a projector in the first place has a defined mind, then I know that this projector analyzes everything, and needs to be made aware of changes. You can't just bring in something new and expect this person to come along with you. They also need to digest first. And by just saying and giving you a few of these examples, that shows you already how diverse all the students are and all human beings are. And if we at school beyond limitations, or at school in general, and also at home, embed that into our daily interactions with our students and at home with our children, then you can imagine that there is another kind of foundation to work with them. And I think what's also very important here to say is that it's extremely valuable and essential, basically, that students understand that there is not a better or worse profile, that there is not something to, let's say, to twist around about themselves. It's about acknowledging who we are, who they are. It's about acknowledging where and how and what they tick the most like, and how and best they can organize their lives around their personality. And this is what we basically do at School Beyond Limitations. We personalize our approaches according to that. So we look at the student before they even join us. We look at the students, which kind of students they are. And honestly speaking, of course, at School Beyond Limitations, we do have small classes. And that's very much, something that projectors love having, manifestors love having a small context. The manifestor, for instance, likes to be on stage, but not necessarily in a huge group of people. They want to be on stage, but then they go off again. So in all these aspects, they are taken into consideration. And at home, for instance, if I at home know that I have a manifestor as a child, and I have also a generator as a child, then I know that I may better separate them, when they sleep at nighttime. So manifestor wants their own, they really need their own space. They don't want to be with other people necessarily. They need to be able to withdraw and to have their space, as much as projectors at times, But while projectors, before going to sleep, they would like to have, a quiet time, maybe by reading, by meditating, by listening to soft music or whatsoever. A generator may still need to get physically, energetically really active again before falling asleep. So, and if I know that, and the same applies to what they eat and when they work the best, if they have, for instance, an open crown center, then I know that these are students who are potentially open for many, many different ideas. While if they have a defined crown center, I also know that there are specific topics that are more of their interest. And as you see, how do we use that? We use that by first and foremost training all our staff in the field of human design, among others, but human design is an important part, as I just mentioned before. So it's really necessary for our facilitators, all of our facilitators, to embrace, to understand what human design is, to understand how to read the profiles of our students. And before our students join School Beyond Limitations, they are in an admission process also with me, where I get to know them before they join us. And usually I always, before asking them, I ask them, is it true that you do this and that you like this and that? Is it true that you are communicated? Is it true that you are this? Is it true that you love sports so much, and so forth? And many times the students and the parents just remain very surprised, because they say, how is it possible that you already know me without even having talked to me properly? So by saying that, I just wanted to emphasize the value of human design, and we use that in everyday teaching approaches. We use that by by differentiating our and scaffolding our approach with the students in lesson and outside of lesson. We help them understand themselves in order for them then to get again connected with their inner essence, because once they are aware of who they are and how beautiful they are and how important it is that they say yes to themselves, and they don't want to twist something around themselves. It's great that you are this way, but it's also important that we are here to guide you through, and that we are there to support them use their understanding for the in development of themselves and the environment around them. So basically, I think that's also very important, that students understand that their human design also helps them which kind of learning environment is helping them to develop to the best their potential. Because if I put a projector into a big group, at the beginning, without having established the relationship building, then I can already say from the very beginning it will not work. And to give you an example, for instance, about the power of the understanding of human design, sometimes, of course, we do not talk to our students about their human design necessarily, of course, not with the younger students, unless they are open and they want to find out more. Once they want to find out more and, their interest is kind of turned on, then we also offer sessions for them. We introduce them to their own human design so that they can understand. And as an example, I just wanted to talk about something that happened recently before we went on a residential week. And the residential weeks, as you may know, are those weeks, those experiential learning weeks when our students and facilitators and all the staff come together to learn together physically on a specific on site in a specific place around Europe in the first place. And I think it was the last residential week when students found out about the rooming and with whom they needed to share their rooms, although they have also saying that, and we look at that, whether they, match or not match and so forth. But anyways, there was a student who had to share her room with two other students. And this student went to talk to her mentor, and she said, I'm a little bit worried because I don't know whether we will actually match and get along well throughout the week. I don't know whether this will work. And the facilitator did the right thing. The facilitator basically uh, informed the student about her human design. And she said to the student, you know what? What do you think if we all had a meeting together and if we explained to one another which kind of human design the respective person has? And so we talk about strategies that are helpful in your collaboration and in your experience on site. And this is what happened. They all agreed, so they came together and all students understood. One was a projector, one was a generator, and one was a manifester. So three completely different types of students. They understood that the generator wants to move around. So, and the manifester and the projector, they understood that they wanted some withdrawal time. So they talked about their needs to one another and they came up with a list of what they wanted to do so that the week would actually go by really successfully and well. And by the end of the week, they were all extremely happy because they said, by talking about it, by understanding one another, we did respect one another's needs. And we just went with it. And this allowed us to really avoid lots of conflicts. And so and when there were conflicts, they understood which strategy to apply. And they were self-conscious. They started to embrace their uniqueness and not to please the others, but to understand this is now my need and this is your need, which is beautiful. And at the same time, at School Beyond Limitations, that's why I said before, it's so powerful, not only within a school setting, it's also extremely powerful within a family, but also within a working space. And in our working space at School Beyond Limitations, we all know about the respective human designs and profiles and defined, undefined centers and so forth. So we specific, first and foremost, as I said before, all facilitators undergo training and we keep doing professional development in this field also at least once per year. And then we basically talk to one another. We also mention what our needs are and how we can best collaborate. And there is such an understanding and such a great way of then collaboration among the staff members and insights that allow us to deepen the willingness to work together. And so as you see, human design is not the only tool, of course, but today, in today's podcast, I just wanted to share with you the power that human design allows us to understand ourselves in the first place. So maybe I haven't even talked that much about that, but I remember how powerful it was just for me to understand who I am and how I can embed my personality and how I can use my authority and my strategy to the best in between a team, with students and so forth, and within the family. So if you think that you would like your child also to be part of a learning environment that takes so much care about the person in front of them, because we use also human design, then come along on this learning journey with us. Maybe you would like to subscribe your child at School Beyond Limitations, or you are interested. Look and have a look at our website and fill in the application form, which you will find then below. And we are looking forward to meeting you soon. And we will also subscribe to this channel, and next time we'll see each other again. At School Beyond Limitations, we support our students find their unique essence. Feel free to share the content of this podcast with other parents. We are here to show that your children can indeed bring their unique essence into life. So, reach out to us if you think that this is what you'd like your daughter, your son to experience, or apply through our website. Also, leave your comments, your questions, or your review about the podcast. Share it with others. And as you know, sharing is caring.
Trust and you can see.